when it comes to true pioneering, like bringing new products to the market, it's probably a passionate founder, and how they got there is probably...
I guess I'd never really thought about technology and music being intertwined. Music just feels like emotional or part of my day and my mood.
You can't consume music without technology if you think about it. You can go to a live show, but even live shows have microphones and PAs.
AI is great at being the median of everything. A great art is spiky. It's from the edges of feeling and emotion and experience.
I don't think music comes from a place of torment. I think it comes from a place of experience.
We are back with another episode of the Do As I Say, Not As I Did podcast, where we answer real and often insane questions from Reddit about growing your startup. And today we're joined by Josh Simons, the CEO of Vinyl Group. Vinyl Group is the heartbeat of an equitable music world, delivering cutting-edge tech and media solutions that empower creators, fans, and bands across the global music ecosystem. With platforms like Vinyl Group, Jaxsta, Vampr, and Serenade under its umbrella, Josh is building a music tech world that connects over 1 million creators in more than 180 countries. A founder, songwriter, and TEDx speaker, Josh is redefining how music is discovered, credited, and celebrated. So, mate, let's jump into it. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. Let's do this. I'm fired up and ready to go.
I love it. Well, all right. So this first question is, how do most music tech companies conduct research to innovate in new products? This is probably a question that is obvious to most people in this thread, so I apologize for my ignorance, but I was just curious, what are the ways in the most music tech and audio companies, including Moog, Native Instruments, Function One Pioneer, Audio-Technica, and Sennheiser, among many others, how do they do research and innovate their products that they create and sell? I'm sure that there are primary avenues of research likely translate to music, to stuff outside, but is there anything specific music related about how they actually do that? And I'm kind of interested in it. I guess this is also by hi, it's Ethan.
Go back to the start of the question, the first sentence.
Yeah. How do most music tech companies conduct research to innovate in new products?
Okay. So when you first read that, I was thinking about R&D, and R&D in any company is it's just as a function, right? Of building products and all that. But I don't think that's what this guy is asking, because it sounds, with respect to our friend on Reddit, like someone who's a potential entrepreneur trying to work out how they get their foot in the door. What it seems like the question might be is how do these companies work out what products people want? That's what I think. I think that's what this person's asking.
Yeah, for sure. It feels like, I don't know why, music feels more personal, and it also feels like it needs to be more polished, and like the equipment feels like it needs to be perfect by the time it comes out. Whereas like I come from like a tech startup, and tech startup feels like it can be messy and iterate and stuff like that. Whereas like you don't like pick up a set of headphones and think like, oh, it's okay if it's shit, the next time will be all right.
No, I've met people who have made headphones and they're obsessed. I think anyone who makes any product has to be obsessed with it, and that's generally how products start. And then there's other companies that obviously that don't necessarily innovate and they copy, but they're still standing on the shoulders, I was going to say of giants, but it's not. If they're standing on the shoulders of innovators who did the obsessive thought and research around it. So I think the real answer to the question is, when it comes to true pioneering, like bringing new products to the market, it's probably a passionate founder, and how they got there is they probably wanted to see a product that didn't exist, whether that's a plugin for a MIDI instrument, or an app that connects musicians like I did with Vampr, or a marketplace for loops like Splice. It was someone out there who thought this should exist, or it should exist easier, and I think I know how to make that happen, and so they just go out and do it, and then everyone else copies. That's how it gets done, and that is true for everything as far back as, say, speakers, right? So once upon a time, someone would have gone, I can just hear the sound of the gramophone going around through this ridiculous thing. Surely we must be able to amplify it through some thing. And then it starts with the amplifier, and then from there you get the speaker. But that's the great thing about music technology, is you can actually track it through the ages. And music and technology sort of have this symbiotic relationship, and there's like this weird codependence between the two things. But you do, like, it's funny, you can literally track, and I think you can do it even in the streaming age. Like, you've got the streaming companies, and so now you stream your music, but before that you had the digital downloads, and then before that though you had piracy, and then before that you had CDRs, which were people burning mixtapes onto CDs, and then before that you just had the actual CD itself, which was properly pressed. Before that you had cassettes, but they all lead to the next thing. And it's just this like lineage of innovation, and one person was trying to solve a problem at a point in time, it compounds, and then you have what we have today.
I guess I'd never really thought about technology and music being intertwined, because like for me, music just feels like emotional or part of my day and my mood. I never think about the way I consume it. Like, but I guess there's so much around the technology side of things which make it available to you.
You can't
That
you can't consume music without technology if you think about
yeah,
it.
yeah, for sure.
Well, you can actually. You can go to a live show, but even live shows have microphones and PAs, and these days most people have playback, and there's usually a production element to it. But even I guess the only way you can really consume music beyond that is sitting in a room with someone and singing with each other, or someone might be playing acoustic guitar and singing around a campfire, right? Or doing an acoustic performance in a cafe. But typically speaking, even playing an instrument, that's technology, right? Like even a guitar's is a form of
Yeah,
technology. And so technology and music, like I say, they're intertwined, and it is a fascinating relationship, because a lot of people think of music and technology and go, technology ruined music. No, technology made music possible. It's just how you
yeah.
frame it. Yeah.
I guess like there's stuff I want to go there, but I feel like we're on such a different thread that I want to jump to the second Reddit question because it's so well aligned with this. I guess I'll read it as verbatim. Right? Will AI eventually destroy the music production industry for humans? I was wanting to get FL Studio Producer Edition just to dabble in music production, but isn't AI eventually just going to make it to, I guess, change music to a point where it's actually almost impossible for humans to produce it because there's just so much coming out from AI? Because if so, is there even a point in getting into music production right now?
Yes, there's always a point in getting into music production, and AI will just make, like it will in every industry, it will just make the people who are innovative thinkers more productive. So the people who learn how to prompt the best will get the weirdest shit out of the AI agent, and will chop it up and sample it like an original piece of music, and create something completely different. The thing is with AI, obviously, like humans, in some ways, I'll take this a step further on the human side, but we are really just products of everything that came before, right? So um, we can be an artist going into a studio with all the tools in the world and the best producers, but we're probably somewhat limited by the songs that we've heard, by the experiences that we've had, the sounds that we've caught as we move through life, and absorb sounds and things, and that's somewhat of a limiting factor. Now, the interesting thing about the human condition is that you can sort of, kind of like the Matrix, you can push that a little bit further, right, than a machine could, and come up with something that's more interesting than the sum of its parts. A machine, and I don't want to call AI stochastic parrot because it's a bit lazy, but it kind of, to a degree, on a very high level, if it's just absorbing everything that's ever done, and then it's sort of working out what's popular because it's seen that instance of a waveform more times than it's seen something less popular, for example, it's going to spit out something that's somewhat formulaic, not completely, but somewhat. And maybe they'll work out how to get past that, but they're not there yet. And I don't think that's coming anytime soon. Although it could be famous last words, but it's not there yet. And I think that's why I say humans sort of have that ability to take everything and then do something slightly different. So I think the best creators will just use AI as yet another tool to make some weird sounding, cool content.
Yeah, it definitely is like from a layman's ear, some of the music that's coming just directly out of these AI music creation tools, I'm just like, holy shit, like that is crazy.
It's
But
good. It's good quality, but is it original sounding? I would
yeah,
hazard it not really.
exactly. Yeah. So like, and it is getting to that point where I was thinking like, when Mid Journey first came out and like all these image generation tools, you're just like, well, you can create like amazing shit now, but like it has to be directed
You
still.
know
Like,
what's a little bit, you know crap for some people in the industry is production music's kind of done. So I used to make production music for, most people wouldn't know. That's like when you're watching an ad and there's what would be called like a bed track, and it's just some, the sound of a band plugging away in the background, or maybe it's like a trap beat or an EDM song, but it doesn't, it sounds like everything and also nothing. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know who that is, but I don't really care. And it just sort of does the job of filling the space. That's production music. And that now is like, that's gone, right? You literally just write in a prompt like, I want an upbeat song that sounds like summer, that's inoffensive and works over a juice ad, and it's going to spit out something that works. That was a whole industry. I made lots of money from that. That's how I got through my 20s. And so that's gone. It's going very fast, and that's a real shame. But then I think with jobs and roles in creative industries affected by AI, which is most, I don't think they all disappear. I just think there's a redistribution of the skill sets, right? So there might be less people making production music, but all those people that had those skills could be then moving on and doing sound design for films, or there's lots of different areas in the industry that still require a human to manually chop things up. And it's because part of music production is quite administrative. It's put this block here and do this fade here, and it's quite admin-y.
It definitely, I guess, like, again, I'm a complete layman here. I've got no musical skills. I have a guitar in my room, and that's about it. I love looking at it. But like, it feels like with any art, like, art comes from, I feel like, a place of torment, really, and like real emotion. And like, I don't think AI can do that, right? Like, AI is great at being the median of everything. It's the average of everything. And like, great art is sparky. It's from the edges of feeling and emotion and experience. And I do think it'd be an incredible tool for any kind of art. Like it can write great poetry right there. That's like cool to read, but it doesn't like make you like cry. But then if you like direct it right and someone's got like a real feeling they want to like represent with it, it makes it super fast.
And if you ask it to do comedy, it doesn't make me laugh. So it's not. That's what I was trying to say before about that sort of human element.
Yeah,
it's not drawing on anything that's just that little bit unique that you've not experienced before, and wonderful communicators found a way to connect that story or experience with its audience, and that's what's so great about art. I just don't think AI can do that on its own. It could probably imitate it, but I don't think it gets there. Not the whole way. But I disagree with one thing you said there. I don't think music comes from a place of torment. I think it comes from a place of experience. So some experiences are, life has moments that'll absolutely challenge you and kick your ass, and a lot of great albums and songs come from that. But also a lot of great albums come from people who have had experiences that equate to overwhelming happiness, whether it's a psychedelic journey or the birth of a child or some other life experience. I think art comes from all emotions.
That's interesting. I agree. I guess I'm interested in your thoughts. Like, I feel like really great artists in any genre like have this like desire's not even the right word, an obligation and a need to share. And it feels like it's almost torturous, right? Like, it's like I have to do this. It's not even a choice. And that can be from good experiences or bad experiences, but I feel like it's like there's a need in them to do this, to prove or to get this message out. I don't know.
I think the initial need to be like, so the first part of being an artist is typically like refining your skills and just learning to play, learning to perform, learning to express yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you're playing an instrument or you're singing or doing both, they're both forms of expression. And that's why sometimes the people who haven't had formal training connect the most, because they might be a little bit rustier in terms of how they strum the guitar or hit the piano, and it might have that just something about it. It's a bit rusty, but in that really kind of sexy, characteristic kind of way. So once they sort of understand and learn how to express themselves, and that's quite unique to everyone, then the question sort of is, I think it comes to motivation. So some artists do it because they just want to be known or famous, and that no one is ever very comfortable talking about that. But I would say that's the vast majority. So they want to seek validation or, notoriety or just acknowledgement. And that can be due to, deep-seated psychological stuff,
Yeah.
or it could just be that's just what you find interesting. But that's usually, I think, at the root of it. And then what I would say is, once you're in it, once this is your job, I think that's when artists feel the need to express themselves, which is, I don't know this, and I've never thought about this until we've had this chat, but I can't think of many people's first albums that, there's a few, like I suppose Bon Iver, but there's not too many first albums that are just devastatingly heartbreaking. And I think that could be because I think you've got to learn how to do the thing, and you've got to learn how to be an effective artist. And then I think you want to satisfy a secondary urge, which is the urge to share pain or share a story out to alchemize through an audience. But you have to have done at least an album because you don't have an audience to get started. But like I said, there's some exceptions. I think Bon Iver's first album, there's not, probably not many.
Man, I love that. That's great insight. I guess, like I'm not an artist. The closest thing I can equate is like, I feel like in some worlds, building a business is like, the art I feel like I'm creating. And I feel like that in a lot of ways comes from this like internal fucking need to prove something to myself. And I just kind of like maybe project that out to all artists, like to actual artists, being like, there's something inside you that says you have to do this. And like, it's not bad necessarily, but I feel like it's like, you can't run from it.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about this before you hit record, but I definitely think running a business is very, very similar to being an artist. The difference is when you're running a business, hopefully you understand you're running a business, but when you're being an artist, often you don't approach it like it's a business. You still have to deal with all the same crap. You still got to deal with people and people having tantrums and lack of alignment. We just don't call it that in artist land. In artist land, it's why can't you finish recording that part, or why can't you just go on this tour that I desperately need you to go on because otherwise we can't do this next thing. In business, that's you're fired and you're redundant.
Yeah. Art seems way harder to me, man. Like in a business, right?
It's funny, yeah, because business, the stakes are higher generally, but there's obviously exceptions on both sides. But I'd say in business the stakes are higher, but to pull it off in art is harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like also because like in a business, right, you can say like, I want to solve X for Y people. So it's like, you can go speak to Y people about their problem with X and understand like, is it really a problem? How are you doing it now? Like, and you can iterate and iterate and iterate. Whereas like when you create any kind of art, and the closest I've come to creating art is like I created a card game. And I feel like creating a card game is like, it's maybe like writing a book or something. Like it's like
that, you just missed your moment to plug then.
Don't worry, man. That's what the whole podcast is for. They'll be plugs, don't worry. But yeah, I created this card game, right? And it was just like, I had to create the whole thing. I had to get it mass scale produced. And then it's all done. And then you just say, hey, do you like this? And if they say no, it's like, well, it's fucking done.
Well,
like,
you missed it.
Iterating.
Well, I'm sure you've done what I'm about to say, but it sounds like you could have missed a trick there, which is you certainly don't print a whole lot. You print 10, then you go out and test the reaction, and then if there's a reaction, then you got the challenge of how do I scale it up, and then there's this sort of unit economic challenge of, well, how much can I afford to buy versus.
I'm definitely like maybe being a little facetious
cool.
here. But I think in art, right, like you have to write a song. I'm guessing, right, and put your whole heart and soul into it, and then the end of it, it's not just like I'm going to iterate this. It's just like, well, that's not what the fucking song is.
Well, no, kind of, like, especially when you do more produced tracks. Like I'm thinking about my first full-length album. A lot of songs started off as just me humming into an iPhone, and then once you sort of worked out what sounds good, and this is true for when I songwrite for other people too, then you sort of go to that next stage where you're still in demo phase, but you're still just trying to find the essence. So maybe it's just an acoustic guitar and a singer, or a piano and a singer, and you finally get something that everyone's like, this is good. And then something called demo-itis can kick in, where everyone kind of feels a bit attached to that initial recording, but it's not good enough for commercial release. And so how do we know it's not good enough? Well, fidelity wise, it's not the best guitar, or piano sound ever, and the vocal takes a little bit rushed, and there's a cough here and all that, and it just hasn't got any production. And sometimes you'll go, well, it's so charming that's okay. But more often than not, I'd say 9 out of 10 times, you start from scratch and then you record it properly. And that's hugely iterative. That's a 6-month process for every song.
I just never guessed that. I mean, this is why I invited some people and have super different experiences to me. I have so many assumptions that are just so wrong about creating music, but yeah, I love it.
So what happens for most independent artists, but even big ones, it happens over a longer period of time, is you get 10 to 15 of those songs in that very raw piano or guitar format, those demos, and then you find someone, usually a record label or yourself if you save up enough money, and you go to a proper studio where everything's sort of plugged in, ready to go, and you go in there usually for sort of 2 or 3 weeks, and you focus on recording all of the parts properly. And that means the drums, the bass, the synthesizers, the percussion, the vocals, and not using, I mean, a lot of people these days use MIDI and virtual instruments and things, but because they're very good these days, but nothing beats going into a studio and recording properly. And most people will for the main instruments.
Matt, I love it. Well, that's been an amazing tangent to this question. But the real answer to this question is that, will AI kill music production?
No.
The answer is no. It'll amplify it.
Yeah.
For the right people, right? The people, it'll change it for sure. And it'll kill parts of it. But overall, it's just going to add way more and different and unique elements to music for people now.
What it doesn't solve, so AI, I think, is sort of solving some problems in lots of industries and creating new challenges in others. But what it doesn't solve in music, and it's something that we're passionate about with my companies, is the number of tracks being released every day, which I think is up around 100,000 a day now, which is it's too much. It's because all of the money in the world has to get divvied up amongst every single song. So everything new that comes in dilutes that. It's prorated based on popularity, but it's an imperfect system. So there's just too much music, and it makes search experience and discovery experience of new music complicated and cumbersome for systems and also for people to sort through. And that's bad for culture because it makes it hard to latch onto, new things that people can get around and create experiences and, cultural memories around. So there's a lot of challenges that the music industry has at the moment. And I don't know that AI fixes any of them, but I also don't think it makes them any worse.
Yeah. I'm so excited for someone to really solve music discoverability, because I sometimes think, and I feel a little sad thinking, like, I'll find a song and I love it so much. And I'm like, I bet you there are a ton more songs out there that I would fucking love this much, but I'll never find.
You know what I thought you just said? I thought you just said, I can't wait for summer to fix music discoverability. But then that I was searching for why that might have been something profound. And I think you might have tripped onto something there, because if you think about summertime, especially in like places like Ibiza, or just anywhere that has, good summers that are better than Melbourne's sort of 3 weeks that we get. But anywhere with good summers, think about the role that summer plays in bringing new songs to the market that people create memories around. I like that. I like that's like the Earth position being a curator. There's something there. I think you've stumbled onto something there, and I'm going to come back.
I'm quitting my business. I'm going all in.
I don't know. Yeah, you maybe get a job in Spotify's editorial department.
Yeah. I don't know. You heard all of my bad opinions so far on music. Maybe I'll stay clear. I'll stay in education. Well, mate, that's all the time we have questions for today. So let's go to the last segment, which is plugs. Anything you want to plug, mate? Any of your myriad of businesses, or a book you've read, or a song you love?
We have a new issue of Rolling Stone magazine coming out in a few weeks, so I'd say keep your eyes peeled for that.
Awesome, mate. And that's it. Well, mate, thank you so much for coming on. What a fun conversation. I've never been so out of my depth, I feel, on a podcast.
That's all right.
I love it. Well, this has been another episode of the Do As I Say, Not As I Did podcast. We'll see you all next week.